The final update of Season 3 dropped late last night or really early in the morning depending on where you're at in the world, and with that came a lot of stuff. A ton of new stuff from content to changes, and even the fate of the long-standing mystery in Warzone. There's so much to talk about, so as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What are you looking forward to the most out of this update? Anything you're really enjoying, anything you're not, whatever it is, let me know your thoughts. But as well, if you are new to the channel, especially if you're part of that nearly 72% of viewers who are not, make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone, updates, news, information, Easter eggs in Warzone, and all the likes will keep you up to date with absolutely any and everything you need to know. That said, let's jump into it. So let's start with the big key update. Firstly, the update itself. It took a little bit of time, but it finally made its way to all platforms. PlayStation 4 was a little bit delayed. It was a few hours behind PC and Xbox One for some reason, but finally made its way to all players. PlayStation 4 was about 20 gigs, Xbox One was about 31, and PC was 26.1 for free-to-play users and about 30 gigabytes for premium users who own all of Modern Warfare. When you jump in though, you'll immediately notice the big ticket stuff. Firstly, that being the two new maps of Hard Hat and Isle 9. Hard Hat, surprisingly having done some fly-throughs, it seems like it's basically a faithful and much more colorful recreation. There are a few doors, but only in the mid-cinder block construction area, and that's about it. Other than that, layout is exactly the same to my recollection, but again, a lot more vibrant in color, which is great. Hard Hat was really orange to me, and it kind of always threw me off, and also if somebody dropped a Moab, it skewed the visibility even more, but anyways, that's available for you to jump into, and of course, if you want to jump into it just as Hard Hat only, you get the 24/7 playlist available in MP this week as well. Isle 9 is a not so faithful cut from Superstore, which is nice because it's something new, but in the traditional 2v2 gunfight sense, it's actually a much bigger map if my mental comparisons are accurate. But for the limited time 3v3 mode that allows you to play regular modes on it, I think it'll be a good pace here for this. It's relatively open, it's got a little bit of cover and some longer lines of sight, and also some verticality to it, but not all that much. Again, from fly-throughs, it looked like it was one of the more open maps in gunfight, so it'll be interesting to see how this one pans out. Playlist-wise, we end up seeing that we have a handful of things introduced on the MP side of things. We had Realism Mosh Pit making a return, Standard Ground War, Gunfight Blueprints sticking around, Reinfected Ground Wars coming back, and clean up on Isle 9 the LTM for the various ways to play on the new Gunfight map, as well as Hard Hat 24/7 with the classic map are introduced here to Modern Warfare for the first time. So that's really cool. On the Warzone side of things, we also saw the inclusion of a few items, but to get us started, let's talk about the modes here real quick and just breeze through those, because we see Battle Royale solos, trios, and quads, as well as Blood Money quads, in which it's plunder, but with higher cash yields. At this point, though, we don't have duos still, and I don't know if I'd really anticipate it before Season 4. That may be the flagship mode that they introduce here with Season 4, but I'm curious as to why it hasn't been done just yet. But anyways, that's your modes. In-game, though, there's actually quite a bit of interesting things that were introduced. Firstly, the armor box. This is available in the buy stations for $6,000 cash, or they can actually be found in loot spawns and chests as well. This, just like your ammunition box, will top off your armor for all players in your squad. There's no set limit per box, and it will allow each player of your squad to top off up until they're full, with one use per player, just like the ammunition box. That said, if you end up having one, you'll end up getting 8 plates if you have a satchel and 5 plates if you do not. So maybe considering the meta, you can of course drop plates if you have any and top off and get to those full ones plus whatever you dropped, but that's going to be something that maybe you want to evaluate in game and in real time in those scenarios. But it's definitely, I think, going to be something that's worth it if you ask me, over just buying simply armor plates, because mathematically speaking, if you have satchels, you do end up getting more out of an armor box than you would just buying 4 things of armor plates. So definitely something to consider, but a new addition no less. In the Gulag, we also saw that there was a rotation of some of the weapons here, in which now we see the Kilo 141, the M4A1, the AK-47, the M13, the Scar, the Ram 7, the MP5, the AUG, the P90, and the Striker 45 added to the rotation of Gulag weapons. So definitely changes up the Gulag engagements big time, so make sure you're aware of how to play with these and be able to master these so that you can win as many Gulag fights as you can. And finally, as of announced changes, it was said that most wanted contracts were once again reintroduced, this time not replacing just standard contracts in the games, but as of my few at the launch of the update, I personally didn't see them. They may have been added in over time now at this point, but that was something that was mentioned as well. But here's the really big thing that I love, but we'll be talking about this more so in depth either later today for a second video or maybe tomorrow. We'll see how everything works out, but the mystery of the bunkers has been solved partially. The Easter egg behind the phones has also progressed a little bit further, which is awesome, but from what I've seen, you can now get in, assuming you have, I think it's the access cards, which seem to be ultra rare crate drops. You can open up designated bunkers, in which inside of them, it's just crates on crates on crates. Legendary and regular crates in an absolute abundance, kind of like a Destiny loot cave, but it's wild, and a lot of the stuff, while it isn't great compared to, say, your custom loadouts, there'll be tons of cash, UAVs, and other things that by opening this, you'll have access to, and it will be incredibly advantageous. So definitely looking forward to getting more in-depth looks at this, but also there's another bunker at the back of that bunker when you go underneath and into there. So definitely something we're going to be looking at, but I'm excited to see how this all plays out. And as well, when it comes to the phones and the Easter eggs, every third interaction brings up a Russian operative and what sounds like some sort of Morse code, for lack of a better reference. I'm really looking forward to hearing what this translates to, but this is what you'll get if you end up playing the audio here for it. But that said, with some of the bunkers, like Bunker 12 having keypads that say to enter access codes, secondary bunker doors now once you open up the main bunkers, and even the patch notes having this cryptic message saying number station redacted is protocol yellow, activate redacted system, redacted is inbound, awaiting correct authorization. I think it's safe to say that something's about to go down, and I'm here for it, man. We'll talk about that more in depth here in the coming day or two, but for now, let's get back on track with the actual update. Outside of the other visible stuff that was added in, here comes down to the shop update, in which we finally got the Ghost Contingency Bundle for 2,400 COD points, in which you get the classic Ghost skin, the Ghostly Premonitions Kilo variant, the Droger X16 variant, the Shade's Charm, the Ghost Dance Melee, the Hello Stranger finishing move, the Cheers Quip, the Hollow Calling Card, the Ghost Calm Emblem, and the Grimace Spray, all for 2,400 COD points. Again, completely up to you if you think that's worth it or not. We also saw introduced a blueprint bundle, I think for all players, though I could be wrong. Everybody in my party got it, which with a lot of blueprints being individualized, when all of my players in my squad get it at the same time, it's a little curious, so I'd imagine this is global, maybe not, but we ended up seeing the introduction of the Trick Shot Blueprint Bundle for 1,200 COD points, and to me, this is honestly one of the coolest bundles I think we've seen. It comes with the Flawless Technique AX50, the Run It Back AUG, which is, if you look at the attachments, actually phenomenal, the Foxy Lady Melee, the Automated Sentries Calling Card, the Kickflip Charm, and the Nice Shot sticker. But I love both of these blueprints. I think this is going to be an instant comp for me, so love this one. Definitely check that out if you're interested. But that's the front end stuff, the things that visually you can see, but there was a lot of changes on the back end, and most notably, a lot of stuff to weaponry. Let's run it from the top down here. The first thing they mentioned was that of the Renetti, in which it got a significant nerf. It ended up reducing the max ammo reserve from the chambered magazine of 15 and 120 in reserve, and brought that down to 15 chambered and as well only 75 in reserve. So a significant ammo change and reduction here with this, but the MK3 burst mod had a significant hipfire spread increase. It also ended up decreasing the damage to the burst mod overall, and also reduced the damage when Akimbo and the Mark III burst mod are both equipped. So Akimbo Renettis, just like the Akimbo Snake Shots, had a significant nerf to them. So those were adjusted. The FAL had a decrease to the ADS time, making it a little bit faster, and you'll see with the ADS adjustments here across the FAL, the SCAR, and as well then the Holger 26, you see it more so visually in the slowed down about 25%. It comes down to just a few frames that it shaves off, but it is something that effectively will make it in gunfights just a tad bit better. But the FAL had a decrease in the ADS time. The SCAR had a decrease in its ADS time as well. The LMGs had a lowered ammo count for the reload warning on belt-fed LMGs. There was a reduction in the penalty for holding your breath too long with sniper scopes. The VLK Rogue got a buff, bringing it more so in line with other shotguns in the class, in which it increased the fire rate. Again, side by side, you can tell that it's just ever so slightly quicker. It also increased the close range damage of the 12 gauge rounds, and it also increased the damage to the 6-inch revolt barrel. The Holger 26 actually had a lot done to it, not only just at its base, but also with specific attachments. It increased the movement speed, it improved the ADS time, it had a slight recoil reduction, which honestly Slight is selling it a little bit short if you ask me. It was probably about a 35 to 40% reduction if I'm eyeballing this properly in terms of the recoil on the base Holger, which is fantastic. And then it had a bunch of attachments adjusted, including the FTAC 8.98-inch Spitfire barrel that improved the ADS time further. It gives faster movement and reduced hipfire spread. The XRK ultralight barrel improved the ADS time. The 30-round magazine reduced the sprint out time, improved the ADS time. It gave faster movement and now improves your hipfire spread profile. The no stock attachment increases sprint out time, faster movement speed, gives a reduction in hipfire spread, and as well improves the ADS time. And finally, the stippled grip tape is something that improved the ADS time a little further. The only other weapon that was adjusted was that of the RPG, and in Warzone in particular, which, truth be told, I'm a little bit disappointed here with this nerf. It only reduced the kill radius for players with full armor. So 1 plate, 2 plates, no plates, you're not really going to see a difference. Only if you have full armor will you notice some slight nerf here with this. In terms of other technical changes, we see that the BR final circle now moves. The shield turret has actually been taken out of buy stations and has been replaced with the armor box, but shield turrets can still be found in the loot crates. The most wanted contracts have had the time reduced down to 5 minutes to 3 minutes to stay alive with the entire lobby hunting you. Some challenges like fixing Rodion's Season 3 Objective 3 mission not tracking properly of purchasing the armor bundle in Warzone 2 times. That's been fixed out, and has also been a fix for the Use the Dead Silence field upgrade in 3 different matches challenge not tracking properly. There's a handful of other changes here across the board for general fixes, across MP, across Warzone, across Spec Ops. Spec Ops actually had a decent bit here done to it, including new Spec Ops modifications in which you can replay existing operations with some slight twists, in which maybe the enemies charge you more frequently, or maybe they can only be taken down with headshots. So kind of a whimsical way to play Spec Ops, but some new changes no less. But anyways, I think that's really about it. Everything on screen for the rest of the major changes in terms of the more technical stuff. We'll be scrolling through on screen right now as we have been, but that's where we're going to wrap it up. A lot has changed here with update 1.21, getting us ready for season 4 here in just 2 weeks time, but a lot to cover, a lot to play around with, and a lot to hear your thoughts on. So let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Like anything, dislike anything, love, hate, whatever it is, feel free to let me know, but hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff we got you covered on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter or Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practice on both those, so you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be. That link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.